Give us a sense of what teams we should be looking at as possibilities for Leonard Fournette.
You know, running backs obviously tricky. We talk a lot about how they're undervalued, but this is a guy who's been productive. And if you're looking for a back at this point in the offseason, he's going to be of interest. I look at Chicago, where David Montgomery had an injury last week that should keep him out for a couple of weeks, may cost him the ability to start the season with them. So maybe they need to beef up there. I'm looking at Tampa Bay. That makes some sense there. They haven't been able to figure out what they have. Washington dealing with a lot at the running back position. Not entirely sure how that's going to shake out. And the one that jumped out to me, somebody mentioned it to me yesterday, the Kansas City Chiefs. Damian Williams opted out of the season. You know coaches and you know Andy Reid's history. You know, he likes to have depth at that position, even though they love the rookie they drafted, Edwards-Helaire. Not crazy to think that a team like that could look at Leonard Fournette as a piece that could help them do something that right now they might not be able to do.
Yeah, teams that play with a lead a lot usually could use a ground and pound running back if they want to run clock late in games. All right, Jeff Saturday, give me a team right now that should sign Leonard Fournette immediately.
New England Patriots, without a doubt. But here you have Cam Newton, who's been injured, been banged up. You looked at the opt-out of their right tackle, Cannon, who was a very good football player. You want to protect your quarterback. You want to get touches. Fournette would make sense, right? Sony Michel's coming off another injury. I know the kid Harris, 2 years in the league now. They're looking at him to step up. But when you're talking about a quality running back, this guy over 1,000 yards last year, almost 80 catches, that type of quality, you know, would complement a James White and even a Sony Michel. If he can't take the beating and continues to get injured, it just would make sense, in my opinion. Again, Belichick loves guys who are dual purpose. This kid can come in and be dual purpose. He's, in my opinion, he's not a home run threat, but he can get downhill behind the shoulder pads and go play some smash mouth football, which may be what the Patriots can do to protect Cam Newton, especially early on in the season.
That's intriguing for sure. McElroy, for those who don't know you, you've been working at the SEC Network for years, so you obviously have covered Fournette going back to his college days. And I remember when he was at LSU, people were talking about him as a once-in-a-lifetime kind of prospect. He was definitively more touted coming into the sport than Zeke Elliott was and a lot of other guys when he was in college. How do you look at this and perceive what has happened with his career to this point?
Well, you're right, Greeny, and at every step throughout the course of his career, dating back to Pee Wee to high school, even in college, he was more often than not the best player on the field. And that's not the case in the NFL. And I think that's something that incredibly talented people have to figure out. It happened with Trent Richardson. Remember a few years back, failed experiment at both Cleveland and in Indianapolis. And I think that when you are that gifted and that naturally powerful and fast, you don't have to learn the nuances of trying to set up blocks, to be patient as you hit the hole, to maybe cut something back when in some cases it's not their play side. I think that's where he's struggled to make the adjustment to become the player that he's capable of becoming. But if he can learn those nuances, learn a little more patience, he can still be an established player because you just can't overpower grown men in the NFL.
Yeah, it's a good point. And yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Let me say this. I love what Greg's saying. Let me say this. Jacksonville is a bad football team. You think Minshew scares anybody on defenses who are lining up against him? Absolutely not. I mean, you just threw a thing up from Himbo, right? 55 negative rushing yards, all those kind of things. Those are things you can talk about. But when players try to overplay because they know their football team can't compete, it frustrates guys. To me, this, with Richardson, I understand that didn't work. I got a front close up in Indianapolis to watch that. But at the end of the day, this kid is productive. Like, let's not take away twice in his career. He's already rushed for over 1,000 yards, and he had almost 80 catches. This guy can do it. He needs to find a system where guys can let him run with it. So if you're looking at Fournette, this is not a guy who hasn't produced. He is producing on a very bad football team.
No, listen, that's true. They also did draft him ahead of Christian McCaffrey in that draft. They also chose not to take a quarterback in that draft to stick with Blake Bortles. And after they selected, went Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. That's how you get to be where the Jaguars are right now. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.